Bank Studios. This hour of the Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all laws. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red,
what
white,
if
blue.
the solutions are not in a laboratory, but the problems are? In an uncanny coincidence, one of the clips I found this weekend that I found fascinating was of a show that Groucho Marx had on in 1951. In 1951, he had a television show called You Bet Your Life. And this was on in 1951.
Don't tell me you're 100 years old. You got to go again. Well, I'll take one more guess. 650. I'm 102. 102. Well, do you think exercise all your life has contributed to your 102 years?
That's right.
What kind of exercise do you take now?
I bowl.
You
I
bowl?
play tennis and skate.
Well, now are you married, Pop?
I ain't now.
How long were you married, Pop?
I was married 72 years.
She passed away, 102 years old. Was bowling, playing tennis. What was his cholesterol, Squirrel? Do you know his blood pressure medication? My next guest is somebody who is a neuroscientist. He wrote the book, the first book we had him on was Cancer is a Parasite. It's a fantastic book where he explored fenbendazole, ivermectin, and natural reasons, natural things that could maybe do more than in a laboratory. Well, his new book, which is out now, is called The Sunlight Solution, making George Hamilton smile from somewhere. Tan as always. Reclaiming vitamin D, reversing the chronic disease epidemic, and making America healthy again. It is out now. He is Dr. William Supple, Jr. How are you?
Good, Shaun. Nice to be with you again.
You know, I remember us having the conversation, and it is a conversation I have with people who are always in this arena, because I really, really feel, after what we've witnessed the last 20 years specifically, but not exclusively, I truly believe the problem is in the lab, not the cure.
Correct. I think if you look back to, like currently, there's 8 out of 10 people in the U.S. have a chronic health condition. That's up from 1 in 10 during the 1960s. What's changed since then?
Well, let that breathe. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. There is nothing outside of an actual circumstance of a calamity in the atmosphere, in what we're breathing. Chernobyl, okay, maybe. That is unbelievable. That is an unbelievable stat.
Right. The CDC came out with that a couple months ago. And so what's changed in that short time period? It's too short a time period to be a genetic effect. Yeah, we're more sedentary, but the main thing is we've been scared out of the sun. So ironically, 8 out of 10 people in the U.S. are also vitamin D deficient. Some people, you can't even measure it in their blood. They're so afraid to go outside. They've been conditioned that the sun is a villain. When the sun, we evolved in the sun. And what we're reaping now are the rewards of 50, 60 years of the sun scare, where we've been scared stiff of going outside. And now we're reaping the rewards in the form of epidemic levels of cancer, heart disease, obesity, infertility, autism, neurological disease, all of those, and frailty, unhealthy aging. To go back to your Groucho Marx guy, I thought he was going to say, what I did is I spent a lot of time outside, which back then he probably did.
Well, yeah, he was a farmer. He was a farmer. It goes on. He has 105 relatives when you add up his children and grandchildren, his kids. He had 17 kids. But the difference was none of his days were wasted on, boy, am I depressed or do I have anxiety? Number one and two. And I don't think there was medication that he could take to manage age in the way in which people are inundated now. And they start in their 40s. They start in their 50s. And you look at these commercials. We're one of two countries that allows these pharmaceutical gangsters to advertise to us. And they only advertise the hopes and dreams. And none of it is working. None of it is guaranteed. I mean, after all, I'm thinking about painting my bald spot, and I'm pretty healthy. But the reality is when you see people, and I live in Florida now, when you see people who are old and have been here for years, they are entirely different than people who are back in Chicago and they go out for 6 days a year, and in the summer it's too hot, so they don't go out. I mean, it's unbelievable, the difference, and the only common denominator is sun. So it's unarguable, isn't it?
It is, and it's ever present, so we don't see what's not there. So what happened was we were scared out of the sun. So the way I got into vitamin D was, again, sort of a necessity is the mother of invention. When I moved to, I live up in Vermont. When I moved to Vermont, I noticed that, I started to get psoriasis, which is like itchy, flaky skin, and it started to get out of control, and nothing that the dermatologist gave me worked. But I noticed that when I went to Florida on vacation, it started to clear up, and it would clear up in the summer. So eventually I figured out that, what is it about Florida? Well, it was the sun. And what is it about the sun? It's vitamin D. So what I did is I started taking high-dose vitamin D. And that was 23, 24 years ago, and it completely eradicated my psoriasis. So that got me interested in the whole vitamin D arena. And basically, vitamin D deficiency is what is ultimately the cause of what ails you. And, a lot of people, so basically it's the vitamin D is necessary for your immune system to run correctly. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, your immune system can't separate self from non-self, unhealthy tissue from healthy tissue. And what it ends up doing is attacking itself. That's what's known as autoimmune disease. And chronic inflammation, which is the hallmark of autoimmune disease, underlies basically any disease you can think about, from most heart disease, cancer, neurological disease, autism, and the frailty of aging as well. So it's amazing
when you look at this. When you look at this, but what you're advocating is really earth-shattering to the agenda of pharmaceutical companies and what they claim. Because after all, when you said psoriasis, I mean, what would you say psoriasis brings into pharmaceutical companies a year? 7 billion or 8 billion? And they sell the different varieties of which probably do not work a tenth as to what your vacation did. And a lot of what you advocate is nature and against this industry of the pharmaceutical industrial complex as it's seen. But what is the definition of failure if these statistics that you mentioned early on is not failure? I mean, when you look at the climate of Americans who spend more on health, on health care than all the other countries combined, and yet we're sicker and sicker and sicker. And ultimately, I mean, shouldn't all of your books be under the encyclopedia shelf? You don't need anything except God and nature?
That's basically it. And, I write about the intelligence of a lizard in the book. So if you inject a lizard and with vitamin D and put them in the sun, depending on how much vitamin D you inject them with, they will stay in the sun less and less. So somehow the lizard can calculate how much vitamin D they're making from the sun and go in the sun accordingly. Humans are not quite as smart. A guy in a white coat tells us to stay out of the sun because we're going to get melanoma, not pointing out the fact that people who don't go in the sun, who have low vitamin D, are much more likely to get melanoma. And usually melanomas don't occur where the sun shines. It's usually between, under in your armpit, behind your knees, your butt crack, places like that. So the scare tactic from the beginning was just a scare tactic. But like you said, Big Pharma has been the beneficiary of this sun scare, and so you turn on you watch TV, and everybody from the commercials, you would think everybody has psoriasis. So they have a drug to sell, and they're going to sell it to everybody. And I read where Big Pharma knows that if they continue to advertise, that people who have a little itch will say, gee, honey, maybe I have psoriasis. Go to the doctor and ask for the medicine, and the doctor gives it to them. So it enhances sales.
Exactly. Well, you know what there needs to be a study on? I don't even think you need one. I mean, it's very obvious. It's hypochondria through suggestion has been happening since the dawn of man. And I love the reality of it is if you just mention to somebody anything, all of a sudden the suggestion is out there, I think I have it. And it doesn't just make for great sitcom episodes like on Seinfeld when George thought he was having a heart attack because he saw the expose on heart attacks. This is a real thing. And that's why when advertising to people, especially among people who may not have that much self-awareness, this could be exactly the catalyst of why these pharmaceutical companies are so successful. They tell you have a problem. Now you have a problem. One thing I've always noticed, even with my own experience of my kids and family members and watching other people, you take a family of bratty kids on vacation into a place that has a nice climate and look at the difference in their attitude. I'm wondering if there's a study that's ever been done on vitamin D and all of the psychosis medication we have in our kids. I mean, when you look at kids, there has to be what has happened. The explosion of medicating minors is sickening to me. Whenever, when I grew up, get your ass outside was what the standard line was from either your mother or your father. It was just the difference on the adverb or adjective boy. I knew if it was my mother, she didn't call me boy. The father said, boy, get your ass outside. The last thing I ever remember kids saying is, I'm depressed. You're depressed. Get your ass outside. I mean, it's a different world when all the answers are outside, aren't they?
Right. And you're exactly right. So a lot of people are worried about, gee, if I go out, if I take vitamin D, I might overdose. So people don't realize that if for a young person, somebody who's 25, if they go out in the sun for a half hour, their skin is going to make tens of thousands of units of vitamin D, 25,000 units. Contrast that with the U.S. RDA of 800 units IUs. It's not. That's enough to keep your bones from crumbling, but not enough for your biology. And the average adult will use about 4,000 IUs of vitamin D per day. So we're in a chronic state of deficiency if we don't go outside and if we don't supplement. So you have to supplement. So I'm privy to some exciting information that the government's going to be coming out and changing the RDA from 800 per day to between 5,000 and 8,000 per day. That one change will make the MAHA movement. If it does nothing else, that will make it a success. Because, like I said before, your immune system runs on vitamin D. That will fix most of the autoimmune diseases. It will prevent most of the cancers, prevent most of the heart diseases, prevent most of the sicknesses. So one thing that you'll find interesting that you may have always wondered about, back in 2020 during COVID, Trump had a press conference, and he had been briefed by the Department of Defense that the sun killed the COVID virus.
Yeah.
And he said it was kind of like bleach, right? And then the idiot media took that to say that Trump said we need to inject bleach. Do you remember that nonsense?
Of course I do. Back then, that's when I first moved. I was looking at these idiots in Chicago. You had to see the doctor for Chicago. She looked like a bowling ball with a cantaloupe on top of it. This is a doctor giving me advice. I knew you had to get the hell out of there.
Right.
Yes, I remember.
Right. Right. So anyway, this was back in 2020, and my wife and I were watching it. We were into vitamin D then, and it kind of felt like, okay, Trump's going to say vitamin D, and he didn't say it. But Trump was right. So vitamin D, sunlight and vitamin D create something called antimicrobial peptides, which are basically like a antibiotic force field on all of your barrier membranes, on your skin, your lungs, your mouth. So basically, if you're vitamin D replete, meaning you have enough vitamin D, you won't get sick because germs that land on you are killed. So you have these antimicrobial peptides, they're called calcicin and, defensins. That's what Trump was talking about. So the idiot media that made fun of him are the actual idiots.
Well, as always, I mean, it's funny to see how everything is attacked. All he has to do is say it. So I'm wondering if the fact that it's undeniable has been undeniable. How you see, I believe that what had happened during COVID has changed the dynamic of America, not in the way the media today is still spinning it as if there's more communists or more people who want to listen to pharmaceuticals. I think more and more people are very irritated with media. And the cover-up of the failure of pharmaceuticals perpetrated by that media is the kind of thing that I think America is going to capitalize on. I have to say, our interview with you on the last book, Cancer is a Parasite, was so downloaded. We had such great numbers on it. I'm assuming everything went well with the book sales. But that's not just good for you or me. That's good because that information is out. And the reality is the information has always been out. It's just been misinformed by what is media. The answer is always going to be outside. And when you're telling me vitamin D helps you with everything from arthritis to mental behavior, I mean, you could really have another book, Arthritis to Alzheimer's. Does it have any effect on people who are old? And I say that to you because, it's funny to see the way in which healthcare is done down here versus what is up there. A lot of these areas, they take the people and they take them outside a lot. I don't live far from one of these areas, and when I drive by on a nice day, you'll see the older people out there, and they look, they're out there, they're sitting, they're getting sun. It's fantastic to see. Has there been any studies on what it does for memory loss, for Alzheimer's, for your mind as you get older? Does vitamin D help that as well?
Oh yeah. So it's Alzheimer's is caused by chronic neuroinflammation. And whenever you hear inflammation, you have to think vitamin D. And, Alzheimer's disease is much less prevalent in areas that get a lot of sunlight and vitamin D. So there's always a geographic gradient in all these diseases where it's worse in the cold climates, less vitamin D, and, less prevalent around the equator. So, there's clearly a vitamin D link. To go back to your aging question. So one thing that happens as we age is our skin becomes less efficient in making vitamin D. I call it a built-in death mechanism. So to counteract that, you have to supplement. You just can't make enough vitamin D to make sure that your immune system runs correctly. And like I said before, 5,000 to 8,000 international units of vitamin D3. You can buy it at any drugstore. It's really cheap. So that's the way to go.
So vitamins, though, because you also have to be careful, right? Some of the vitamins are synthetic versus other different ways. Or is there such a thing as a non-synthetic, or is vitamin D all synthetic? Is there a natural way outside of tanning yourself the way I do and George Hamilton does to do it, or must you turn to synthetic vitamins? And if there are, have you done an analysis of what vitamins are to miss? And I say this because I had a very good friend of mine who was in very good shape, but he got very sick. He didn't realize he was taking old vitamins, and that was making him sick. So you have to be careful where you turn. It's not all vitamins are equal, are they?
Right. Well, the way that vitamin D3, there's D2 and D3. D3 is the version that humans need. So doctors have vitamin D2, which is plant-based. It's junk. It doesn't work. You need to take vitamin D3. The way D3 is made is just like how your skin makes it. So they take some fat and it's irradiated with ultraviolet light, and that makes the vitamin D. So it's very simple. The guy who discovered it in the early 1900s won the Nobel Prize for it. So it's very cheap, very simple. It's a similar mechanism to how our skin makes it. But going back to aging, one thing that happens as we age is our skin makes less and less. And what happens is that, how older people, they'll lose their muscle mass? They'll start to shrink up, even no matter how much they work out. Well, vitamin D is actually, I call it a back-end steroid, because not only is vitamin D related to other hormones, estrogen and testosterone, vitamin D will also inhibit something called myostatin. And what myostatin does is it prevents your muscles from getting too big. But if it's around when you're trying to build muscle, which is what happens in old people, it shrinks them, and it specifically shrinks a specific type of fiber called a type 2 fiber, which is also known as fast twitch muscle. So somebody who has a lot of fast twitch muscle is going to be cut and strong. So that's as we age, when we lose the effect of vitamin D because our skin isn't making it, we selectively lose those big fast twitch fibers. So the way to maintain your muscle mass as you get older, like I'm 67, I look like I'm 47 because I've been taking vitamin D for 25 years, and it really is the longevity hormone. Vitamin D is actually a hormone.
This is good news for me. Big news for me right here. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
And and the sunlight has a lot of additional things other than just vitamin D. There's 11 different compounds that are made in your skin when UVB light hits it. We've only identified 3 of them.
This is insane.
They're yet to be named. There's no money in vitamin D. It's off patent. And basically, it's the cash cow for big pharma. So to the extent that the population is vitamin D deficient, they'll have a palette of disease to sell their garbage to.
This is why you're my doctor. Dr. William Supple, the new book, The Sunlight Solution, Reclaiming Vitamin D, Reversing the Chronic Disease Epidemic, and Making America Healthy Again. Now, in your professional advice, now that you're my doctor, I get a little pushback especially from the family. I think I should go without the Speedo. Are you saying I should keep the Speedo on, or should I just remove it and just say it's for health purposes only?
I think for health purposes only.
All right, very good. Thank you for making time, but more importantly, thank you for writing the books. I really love it. And from now on, I'm never going to just say just vitamin D. I'm going to say vitamin D3. I'm going to really confuse people and tell them I learned about it from my friend, Dr. William Supple. Thank you for making time and telling the people. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shaun.
Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
He's Shaun Thompson.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
And this is the Shaun Thompson Show on AM 560. The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill. From pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
This 4th of July, celebrate America the right way. Fire up the grill, invite the family over, launch the fireworks, and proudly display a handcrafted wooden American flag from uniquewoodenflags.com. These stunning hand-finished wooden flags are built with real craftsmanship and patriotic pride. Whether you want a